All right, everyone, welcome back to our channel, and today we are reviewing Arrival by the filmmaker who's going to make the new Dune movie, and whose name I can't pronounce, so I'll let Dylan do it.
All right, so this movie is directed by Denis Villeneuve, um, written by a name I'm gonna butcher. His name is
Eric Heiserer.
yeah, sure. Based upon a story called "The Story of Your Life" by Ted
Chang.
starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker, and some other people that are less important, and music by Johan Johansson, who has passed on.
That's right. This film was released on November 11th in 2016. It had a budget of around $47 million and a total box office intake of around $203 million.
Yeah, this movie has a runtime of 116 minutes.
Yep. All right, so we just sat down and watched the last film in our sci-fi by the decade retrospective, whatever you want to call it, until at least the new Dune comes out. What were your basic thoughts on this here film?
So this is the second time I've seen it in actually a relatively short time span. I just sat down and watched this for the first time. I don't know, two months ago maybe. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it then, and I enjoyed it this time. I think it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I saw it when it came out in theaters, and then this is also my second time watching it. I enjoyed it both times, definitely. Yeah. I think getting into it, I think it's a more artsy type sci-fi film.
Definitely.
It's more in the vein of, I would say, like a Blade Runner or 2001 than it would be like a Star Wars or something.
Like a Star Wars or even an Avatar.
Yeah, or having an Avatar.
It's not an action driven sci-fi spectacle. It's more of a thought provoking sci-fi drama.
I didn't realize, I'd forgotten, but they drop a lot of hints as to what the big twist is. Like
from the really very first scene.
And if someone really perceptive probably could figure it out from this first scene. I think the first time I watched it, I didn't immediately catch on, but I did catch on at some point in the movie before they revealed it. I think for me, the big plot twist, it didn't shock me. I had seen Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where there are aliens in that they talk a lot about not seeing time as a linear thing. So I was like, well, it's kind of already being done, but whatever. But I like this film as a whole. I think it works as a visual sci-fi thing. I think there are a lot of beautiful shots in this movie. Like early on, we see the spaceship hovering above the mountains in Montana, and you see the mist coming over the mountains.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
There's a lot of beautiful shots like that, which I think you've seen a lot of Denis Villeneuve's films.
He's definitely brings a lot of visual flair to his movies.
Yeah.
I noticed it showed off in this.
Yeah, just like Blade Runner 2049.
He definitely he picks out color palettes for his films and really builds his shots around certain color palettes and certain landscapes and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does a great job with that here. I also think Johan Johansson's score, it's a lot of deep bass sounds.
More sounds than music, I guess.
But I think it worked. It definitely complements this film. I think it's unnerving a lot. Yeah. Especially when you're watching in the theater and you have that your seats vibrating from that. It is kind of unnerving when it needs to be, and also kind of, depressing when it needs to be, and whatever the case may call for. So I think that really helps to add to the mood of this film. Another thing I like about this film is that both Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner are really good in it.
Yeah, they're both giving really good performances.
Usually I find Jeremy Renner to be kind of a douchebag in all of his performances, and he is maybe a little bit in this movie, but I think he's toned down quite a bit.
Definitely.
I think his kind of subdued performance is actually really nice in this movie.
Yeah.
And Forrest Whitaker's there too.
Forrest Whitaker's
you can't ever go wrong with Forrest Whitaker.
I don't know. I think this movie works on a lot of different levels. It works as a thought-provoking thing. Obviously, this has kind of a political message behind it, and we all need to, as a whole throughout the world, everyone needs to learn to work together, and that's essentially why the aliens in this film come, is to present us with this tool so we can all work together, and they give it to everybody in separate parts or whatever. But
And you can definitely...
It works on a lot of levels, though.
You can definitely pick up on that message, but it's a lot more subtle than it was in Avatar.
Avatar, where Avatar's message is definitely right there in your face.
Yeah. So I can appreciate that. Yeah, and I think, you know, the non-linear aspect, I said he's trying to be Christopher Nolan while we were watching the movie.
It's not near as non-linear as I would say some Christopher Nolan movies are. Probably most Christopher Nolan movies are. There are some, like, scenes in which Amy Adams kind of, you know, thinks about things that are either happening to her, as you find out later in the movie, as she can see time non-linearly once you learn the language, whether it's happening, you know, in her past or her present or her future or whatever.
Yeah, the stuff with her daughter, like, I think the first time you sit through the movie, unless you're just really on the ball with it, I think you think, the audience thinks for most of the movie that these are scenes from her past and that her daughter has already died of cancer and now we're, you know, in the present. But as you find out, you know, it's pretty close to
kind of also her future at the same time.
It actually is her future from our standpoint, and, you know, none of this has happened yet. And I actually think they ask a really good moral question in this subplot about with the daughter of, you know, should she have had the daughter and done everything like she did, knowing what was going to happen. But for me, I think that's one minor flaw I'll pick at this movie. I don't think they spend enough time with that question. I actually thought that was a really good moral question to be asking, and they
don't really ask it until the end of the movie.
How that affected her and Jeremy Renner's relationship as that went on. But that's something they just kind of drop one line about, and then they just kind of move on. And maybe she talks about it a couple times towards the end of the movie, but that was something I would have kind of liked to explore more, because I will say that,
like, if you knew your future, what would you do it the same way, or would you change it to make it have a different outcome? So
I will say that I think this movie does get a bit tedious at times. It's about 2 hours long, which is, you know, I mean, it's kind of lengthy for as little plot, like actual like plot that there is in this movie. Because, you know, one thing I find interesting about this movie is there's not really a strong antagonist in this movie. You know, like the military people and the governments are all kind of like mild
the looming threat over the whole situation.
And the aliens, like, you don't know what they're doing, but there's not really an antagonist per se in this movie.
No, it's not like a traditional movie in that aspect. It's kind of just your characters are being thrust into situations and you're kind of following along with them.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think it works for the most part in this movie. Like I said, maybe a little tedious at times. But, you know, I'm entertained throughout this movie, and it's awesome. It keeps me asking, okay, what's happening? What do the aliens want? And I never get bored. I'm like, oh, just get to the point already, you know? No. Like I was with Avatar. Definitely. Like, oh, just get to the point already.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I would say, paced better than an Avatar, probably due to its, you know,
Almost an hour shorter,
yeah. But I mean, overall, I think it works. I like a lot of the scenes with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner trying to decipher this language and trying to learn how to communicate with these as they call them, heptapods in the movie. A lot of those scenes are really cool. And then as she starts to learn the language and figure things out, it's nice, and to see their relationship kind of build, even though as she starts to learn the language and perceive time like them, when she starts to, you know, realize what's going to happen and stuff like that, how she acts in those situations accordingly. But
yeah, I mean, if you want to get real nitpicky, you can say, is it kind of stupid that just because she learns how to read their little ink circles that she can then tell time, or like see through time? I mean, it doesn't really. I mean, I think that they pulled off in a serious enough fashion here, but and there are a couple of plot contrivances, like, for example, that one phone call that she had with the Chinese military leader is, like, just like that, gonna convince all the nations that they need to stand down and share information and all be happy and hunky-dory. That's a bit of a stretch, I would think, but, you know, it is what it is. I'll go with it. But no, as a whole, I think this is an entertaining sci-fi film.
Yeah, I like it.
You ready for some final thoughts?
Let's do it. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, buy it, stream it, or skip it. I'm gonna say stream it. It's a very good stream. It's a very high recommend on, you know, if you're putting a list of things that you haven't seen to stream, because I think it does work as a visual sci-fi movie. I think it's a lot like we talked about Avatar, visually beautiful. It's a little less reliant on CGI than a lot less reliant on CGI than Avatar was. I think like the ship design, although it's really basic, I think it's effective for the mood that Villeneuve is trying to get across. I think the creature design, maybe not super original, and maybe it looks a little goofy when they reveal the whole creature and it's like a giant balloon top head or whatever. But I think it's effective again for the mood that they're going for. Set design inside the ship and all of this, I think all that's really good. I think like I've been trying to say, visually, this director is really great at getting the story. Now, I do think writing, looking at the writing aspect, it does get a little tedious at times. Maybe they needed a stronger villain. You could argue that. But as a whole, I think this is a really intriguing sci-fi movie that you need to watch once. I'm not going to say it's not something I'd want to sit down and watch over and over again. That's why I'm going to say stream it, not buy it. But definitely, if you have some free time, I think this should be, and you like sci-fi movies, this should be pretty high on your movies to stream at least once list.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy this movie a lot. Actually, one of my friends from work is someone who recommended it to me. And this is probably, he said it's one of his favorite sci-fi films of all time. I think it's a really good movie. I think Denis Villeneuve accomplishes a lot, especially when it comes to the visuals of this movie. He does a great job with how he composes his shots and a lot of the although he's not the person controlling the camera, deciding what to do in those situations, and he makes it look very beautiful, especially like we've talked about the shot as the helicopter is coming in to Montana and we see the ship off in the distance and the fog and clouds and mist rolling over the mountains is gorgeous. Visual effects as far as like the ship and stuff go, I mean, I think they're pretty good. I mean, they're as far as, especially for a $40 million budget, to have such a large CGI object in your movie, looks pretty good. I mean, Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, they're really good in the movie. I enjoy their performances a lot. It's nice to see Jeremy Renner not do Hawkeye or, classic douchey Jeremy Renner. Sorry, Jeremy Renner.
Jarhead guy, yeah.
Whatever he's doing at the time, which is pretty much the same character in every movie other than this. He's a little more subdued in this, which is kind of nice. He's more the sciencey type. And Amy Adams is pretty good. I like Amy Adams as an actress, despite, what her attitude may be, but sometimes she comes across as kind of she could be maybe a little bitchy at times, but
stuck up, I would say the more politically correct term would be, yeah.
But overall, I mean, I think everyone does a really good job. The writing in this movie, it does get a little tedious at times, but it doesn't bother me in really any way. I enjoy it quite a bit. If you're a fan of Denis Villeneuve, I would definitely say check it out. Or if you're a completionist, definitely check it out. Or if you're a fan of sci-fi, definitely check it out. So I'm gonna say buy it.
Buy it? All right. I can roll with that. But anyway, like I said at the beginning, this concludes our sci-fi by the decades retrospective until Dune comes out.
Yeah.
So hope you enjoyed these movies. If you liked our thoughts on these sci-fi movies, maybe tell us and we'll think about doing something similar, maybe with another genre or something.
Yeah.
But
other than that,
next, what are we doing next?
So we are continuing our Christopher Nolan retrospective. I think that's the next episode we're slated to do is over the Prestige. After that, our next series that we're going to start is over the Saw franchise, leading up to Spiral, if it ever comes out this year.
I think it comes out September 25th.
Oh, did they reschedule it for September now?
Maybe that was the Candyman. I don't know.
I'm not sure. But whenever it's slated to re-release, if it's this year, we're going to talk about the Saw franchise, all 8 of those. So make sure you check those out as they come out.
Hope you like horror.
Other than that, we do have a podcast. So.
That's right. We have a podcast called Stomp This Way where we talk about a different monster movie every week. So if you just love listening to us talk, you can check us out over there. We also have social media sites for this channel that will be linked in the description below.
Absolutely. Make sure you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel if you like hearing us talk about movies.
That's right.
Other than that, I think that's all we have for you.
Yeah, so we'll see you next time.